back again. Sorry about that, I was pressed the wrong button. Right, okay. What time is it? We've got a few more minutes before the departure time. Let's just walk our way through slowly. And after the departure time I'll come back over here and just read all the names out. We'll go through it all. Okay, and all we got, a few more minutes. So yeah, the original plan was to be over at the mooring mast site. Unfortunately we didn't get permission to get in there, so we've come here. It's in basically we'll mark the point when the ship slipped the mast. And in fact, when she came off the mast and done the dip and set off, she actually come and flew right over this piece of ground here before heading round Bedford and on her way. So yeah. But anyway, let's keep going. Bear me a sec. There were some people down the other end of the cemetery, so I didn't want to get in their way. So let's go and have a look. War Memorial. So keep going. It's a very peaceful cemetery here, it's very lovely. As we come back to the back of the cemetery, oh, they've gone now, that's good. There's the sheds. So how long have we got before the mast time? Just over 10 minutes to go. So yeah, we'll mark the moment the ship left the mast and we'll go from there. Okay, while we're waiting for that moment, and I'll do a full commentary of what would have happened, just going to head back. As you can tell, this is unscripted. So let's have a look through there. There were a plethora of plans for events over these next few weeks happening, but unfortunately with the virus kicking about, they have all been put on hold, so there should be some more events happening next year. But yeah, let's go back over here. So let's just get a quick walk around the grave. This is the board that was paid for by the Airship Heritage Trust. They put that up. Oh, Mr. Wise, hello. Right. And there's the memorial. I'm just waiting because we've got about 10 more minutes to go before we mark the moment the ship left. We have here grave of Arthur survivor. Right, let's see if we can move back. just heading back over now. We've got roughly 9 minutes to go. We'll mark this moment she slipped the mast. So hello, Richard. Right, we've got 8 minutes to go. As we come through, we have the sheds. The whole area over there would be a hive of activity 90 years ago today. Around the mooring mast there'd be lots of last minute preparations going on, engines being well run up, but today it'll be very quiet, sadly. Very peaceful around here, very lovely area. And where we go now? Not long, right. So just as we're waiting for the moment, and I'll talk you through what happened, I can just pan over to the right and you can see the houses have arrived on that side, sadly. There we go. It's time. About 8 minutes, 6 minutes to go. So at this time the engines would have been warmed up, all the rollers would have been removed off the ship, and they would be getting prepared to slip the mast. When I say slip the mast, it's basically they disconnect the nose and she backs off using her reversing engines. And then as she reversed, that's when the story really starts. But we are just waiting a little bit longer to mark the moment, and hopefully a few more people will start watching. I've just read what you've written, Mr. Wise. I'm not lurking in the bushes. How long have we got now? That's 6 minutes to go. I always get the impression it was virtually dark before it set off, but as you can tell by the sky at the moment, it's still quite light here, even though today is probably a very similar day to as it was back then. Over there you got Howden Lane, lovely area, my old stomping ground growing up. What was the Royal Airship Works, which is now all housing, the sheds, and I think where to point for the direction of the ship. You'd have probably seen it a lot easier back then because it had been 200 foot in the air on the end of a mooring mast and 700 foot long, but today we'll judge it for, it would probably been about there, I think, going up 210 feet, which is just a little bit taller than the sheds, and 777 foot in that direction, kind of thing. But yes, just back on there, and what have we got now? Another 5 minutes. So I don't know how exact the times were when they were written down, what time she left, but I'm going to go 18:36 and mark it from there. As I say, the original plan was to be over at the mooring mast site to get in there and mark the moment and have a proper little ceremony about it, but unfortunately we never got permission back on that, so we've came here But this has got the bonus if you get a great view of the sheds, and you've got the grave and memorial as well. So yeah, it's all as it would have been. So on the day of the funeral, a lot of the actual mourners came through the back part of the cemetery, and there was a little ladder leading into the cemetery over the hedge, just where that gap is basically. But anyway, and we've got another 3 minutes, so 3 more minutes, and then I'll start describing what happened. Hopefully it won't bore you all too much, but I will try and explain as much detail as I can of the situation. And right, how long have we got now? 4 minutes. Okay. So basically back over here now, you can see all the housing that is sprouted up on the RAW or RAF Cardington site. That now will spread out to the back of the sheds, so you'll still see the top half, but there'll be a lot of housing around them, surrounding them. And I've seen some plans of wanting to build on the actual remaining airfield, which obviously is something we want to avoid at all costs. But there we go. Anyway, it's starting to get twilighty. Is that a word, twilighty? I think I'll pattern it. And now, how long have we got? We have got probably another 2 minutes or so to go until we mark the moment she left the mast and set off on her final voyage. At this time, everyone would be in their positions, everyone would be ready, they'd be all on board and ready to move. I think it would have been raining a lot more than what it is now. But the bit that gets me is every time they mention the time it slipped the mast, it's always sounding like it was pitch black, but as you can see, at this time of night it's still quite light. There we go, one of them things. I can lean on this in case I start shaking. So yes, we have now got 1 more minute to go, and then I will describe what's happening, and then as the story goes on I'll walk over to the cemetery and read all the names off the side of the memorial as a mark of respect. I'm not much of a bugler, so I'm not going to put you through that. So, right, how long have we got? So the ship will be almost ready to slip. The tower officer will be awaiting the word, and when he gets that word they will set the ship free. So we are looking at any minute now, hopefully, and then we will start the trip. Right, it's time. The ship slips the mast and moves backwards. As she moves backwards, her nose slowly dives. Slightly worrying, but as it's been raining all evening, there would be a lot of rain build up on the outer cover, and this is probably what causes the extra weight that wasn't accounted for. Ballast is dropped straight away, her nose rises, and she's on her way. So obviously that didn't happen that quickly, and they'd probably be dropping the ballast, so probably the nose would be starting to dip now as she moves back. People on the ground are seeing this. It's remember, it's 210 foot high but 777 foot long. It would look massive, it would look really close to the ground, and any drop will be very noticeable. So as her nose drops down, they correct it by dropping ballast. That stops the dropping, and then she slowly rises. But as I say, this is all happening, or would be happening, as I speak, and she'd be slowly rising up into the air and on her way. But as the speed of things goes, that event would still be happening. It takes a while, obviously, for these things to move on. But by now they've probably dropped the ballast, and her nose would be rising, and then she would be off. and heading straight for where we are now, because the route would take you up from there over to where we are here, then over around Bedford, circling Bedford, and then back round in towards Ampthill, Malden, Clophill, and on our way, or Clophill and on our way even. But at this moment she would probably be heading our way now. What's time now? It should be rising. Engines would be revving up a lot more. You'd be getting quite a lot of engine noise coming through. The crowd on the ground would be damp and cold, but they would be cheering. There'd be a lot of cheering going on. A lot of signal lamps signalling the crew. A lot of lights flashing. The mooring mast would be lit up. Had searchlights on the top. I don't know how dramatic they would be at this time of night, because obviously it's still quite light. But there'd be a lot of drizzle. It was a wet night. Not like it is. I mean, it's been wet all day here, but it's quite dry here now. And she would be slowly rising up and coming over here. But like I say, these things are not exactly speedy as it would have happened. But anyway, I'm going to fast forward a little bit, else we'll be just standing here looking at a horse walking across the field all evening. So she would be coming over here, and then circle Bedford, like I pointed out. And this is there's two reasons they did that. One, it was to salute the people of Bedford, to show them their ship before she set off. And two, it was to see if there were any issues, like if a cable snapped or something went awry as it was circling. They'd be quite easy to go back to base. So they'd have probably done a few manoeuvres as she come round, just to make sure everything was okay, and everything fine. And as it was all good. Everything ran as it should. I think there was a bit of problem with one of the engines, which was sorted out by the time they got to the channel. But yes, no signs of the disaster to come, apart from the weather being wet and a bit of a rising bit of wind, and with wind getting higher as well. But anyway, she would have been well on her way over here by now. And as she came over, the serenity that we're hearing at the moment would not be happening. It would be very loud. She wouldn't be that high yet. Not sure the exact height of what she would have been when she was here, but seeing she was 200 foot in the air when she left the mast, I doubt the altitude would have gained too much by the time she got here. So at this point you've got a 777 foot long aircraft coming towards you, engines full pelt, very low. Think of like when Airlander came into land coming over at the airfield, bit like that, but a lot bigger. And she's heading over, and she would come over this point. Starting to drop off now. Light is starting to go now. You can really feel the darkness creeping in. And it's obviously, as she set off and the families had waved goodbye to the ship, they'd have all gone home. Not expecting to be woken early the next morning with the terrible news of the accident. Right then, it's enough of me talking. Let's go over and read the names out. Before I can't see anything in this light, it's getting really bad. Ooh. It's a really surreal, quiet, peaceful graveyard here. It's a lovely area. We're heading back. Back round. And there we have the memorial. And don't like walking onto this bit because this is obviously where the graves are. Okay. William H. King, Morris Littlekitt, Christopher H. Mason, Thomas W. Megginson, Wilfred Moore, Arthur W. J. Norcott, William H. L. O'Neill, Leonard F. Alton, William Palstra, Walter A. Potter, Walter G. Radcliffe, Martin G. Rampton, Arthur J. Richardson, Vincent C. Richmond, Frederick M. Rope, Ernest G. Rudd, Albert H. Savage, George H. Scott, Sidney E. Scott, George W. Short, Morris H. Steff, Cecil E. Taylor, the Right Honourable Lord Thompson, Albert H. Watkins. George Atkins, Percy Bishop, Richard Blake, Sir William Sefton Branker, James Buck, Charles A. Burton, Alexander Bushfield, Samuel Church, Reginald B. B. Colmore, John Curran, Frank Elliott, Christopher J. Ferguson, Hector E. Ford, Percy A. Foster, William R. Gent, Morris A. Giblett, Noel Grabowski Averstone, Eric A. Graham, Alfred C. Hastings, George W. Hunt, Herbert C. Irwin, Ernest L. Johnson, Spencer T. Kelly, Thomas A. Key. "90 years ago today they set off." Right guys, that's me done. I'll be carrying on the posts and tweets throughout the night, all going off to the moment in the morning and tomorrow as well, telling you the events as they happened and going from there. I'm glad some of you came along with me. Cheers guys, bye.